Alrighty, there we are. A little too close to the camera. All right. Well, welcome one and welcome all to the one and the only Junk Shop Library channel, home of Improv Bible Study, the Atheist Bible Study, where we read every word of the King James Bible and then subject it to the merciless scrutiny it deserves from a modern humanist atheist perspective. If that sounds appealing to you, by all means, stick around, hit that thumbs up below. Consider subscribing if you're not one of the legion already. This show and the many others we produce here on the channel would be impossible, literally, without the support of my fantabulous family of Patreon patrons whose names you see scrolling at the bottom of your screen as we speak. And these are the folks who have jumped over to patreon.com/junkshoplibrary and signed up for as little as $1 a month to contribute financially and in terms of moral support and creative feedback to the ongoing efforts of the channel. Y'all's support has made a tremendous difference over the last year or two, or however long it's been that Patreon has been active, and I really and truly can't thank you enough. In particular, and especially, y'all know, I got to shout out my top 2 tiers worth of patrons, my Illuminated Manuscript Captain Kimothy, and my Genuine Calfskin level patrons Bill, and very first patron, infamous atheist activist Paul Camish. These folks, as I say, have gone far above and well beyond in their support of the channel and have made some things possible that literally would not have been possible otherwise. Also got to shout out the anonymous donors who wish to remain anonymous, who have contributed to the ongoing maintenance of the channel and the channel runners over the course of the last little while. You know who you are, you know what you did, and I hope you know that I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I see the chat beginning to fill up. We've got all manner of people here. The aforementioned Paul Camish is in the chat. Paul's got a little bit of a milestone coming up tomorrow and has a stream going on to celebrate it. I myself will not be able to be there because I will be making money, road conditions permitting. But anybody who's available should definitely drop by. Y'all know it's going to be a good time. Mr. Shadow Kitty, hadn't seen you in a hot minute. Good to see you, my friend. And my wonderful wife, Julie, from the Wine and Reason channel is here as well, on no notice whatsoever, which means my notifications must be working, because I forgot to tell her I was streaming this afternoon. Sorry. All right, well, quick little bit of background about why we're streaming at this peculiar hour on this peculiar day. Because most of y'all I see in the chat have been around with me long enough to know that I normally don't stream anything on Sunday, except for the Catholic Catechism stream for patrons up at noon Eastern Time. But since I'm not going to be available during banker's hours, which is when I normally stream during the week, I had to come up with something because I couldn't just do one episode of Ezekiel and then walk away from this until August bank holiday. Now, could I? No. That'd be ridiculous. And y'all would find better stuff to do with your time. I'd come back to an empty house. So what I have decided to do is to do a little riff on the traditional tradition of most of the raised Protestant folks I know, and most of the raised Catholic folks I know, and for that matter, most of the raised Abrahamic religions folks I know, which is that your two big days for religious stuff was Sunday and Wednesday. So we're going to continue doing the Catholic Catechism stream for patrons at noon. And then sometime around about this time, probably stick right at this time because it's easy for me to remember due to outside factors, we'll have improv Bible study. And then on Wednesday night, at some time to be figured out when I figure out how long it takes me to get back from work and get into a headspace where I can read Bible and look at a computer screen again, we will plan on streaming then, so make sure your notifications are on. Maybe even just sort of randomly check the channel page here on the library to see if there's an upcoming live stream, because the notifications don't necessarily always love me too good. And then our next regularly scheduled event will be the Book of Mormon study on Saturday evening, assuming I can bring myself to crack it open again. Feel dirty. Touched it. I've got Mormon on my hands. Ugh. So that will be the updated schedule. I want to keep doing the mental health stream, but I'll have to find a time slot that works for the majority of y'all and that works for me. So we'll deal with that bridge when we arrive at that river. All right, so enough blather. Time for Ezekiel. If you remember, last time we had four-faced monsters, and Ezekiel was told to go home and lock himself up in his house and be mute. He was instructed with a great message of prophecy to give to the children of Israel, and then told he would be not permitted to give it. He can from now on only talk when he's talking with God. So we'll see how that works out. Chapter 4. Thou also, son of man, take thee a tile, and lay it before thee, and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it, and build a fort against it, and cast a mount against it. Set the camp also against it, and set battering rams against it round about. Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan, and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city, and set thy face against it, and it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay siege against it. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel. Lie thou also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it. According to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thine arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. And behold, I will lay bands upon thee, and thou shalt not turn thee from one side to another till thou hast ended the days of thy siege. Take thou also unto thee wheat, and barley, and beans, and lentils, and millet, and fitches, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof, according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 390 days shalt thou eat thereof. And thy meat which thou shalt eat shall be by weight 20 shekels a day. From time to time shalt thou eat it. Thou shalt drink also water by measure, the 1/6 part of an hin. From time to time thou shalt drink. And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of man in their sight. And the Lord said, Even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Then said I, Lord God, behold, my soul hath not been polluted. From my youth up, even till now, have I not eaten of that which dieth of itself, or is torn in pieces, neither came there abominable flesh into my mouth. Then he said unto me, Lo, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung, and thou shalt prepare thy bread therewith. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, that they may want bread and water, and be astonied one with another, and consume away for their iniquity. And there we have Ezekiel chapter 4. Okay, so poor Zeke is sent home to be mute in his house and to prophesy, except that he's not allowed to prophesy. And while he's told to do this, he's told also to make himself a little scale model of Jerusalem and lie on his left side against it, facing it, for a little over a fucking year. And then turn over onto his right-hand side and lie there staring at his little scale model of the siege of Jerusalem for 40 days. And he's not allowed to move, and he's not going to be able to move that entire time. Those are going to be some fuck-off enormous bed sores. And all he's allowed to eat during this time is a truly monstrous quantity of meat and a whole lot of water and some seed cakes baked over human shit. And this is where Zeke draws the line. He says, Lord, how about no? Because, see, here's the thing. I ain't broken none of the many squillions of dietary laws you've laid upon us so far. And I don't aim to commence breaking them by eating shit cake. God says, okay, fine, you can use cow shit for fuel for the fire instead. Ezekiel says, well, that's probably about as good as I'm going to get. I'm not sure what the philosophy here over the course of the last couple of prophets has been. Because it just doesn't seem to have been good teaching method. God made Isaiah wander around butt-ass naked in the burning-ass desert, TM, for, what was it, 3 years? And he came back all sunburnt. and started babbling crazy for about the next 40 chapters and got all surprised when nobody paid him any attention. Now he's got poor Ezekiel here making a toy Jerusalem and lying down next to it for a year and a month, and then turning over and doing it for a month and a half on his other side, eating all the while a truly monstrous amount of bread and shit cake. Cake's baked over shit, but still. And all this whole time, he's still not allowed to talk to people. He's not allowed to explain what he's doing. He's just laying there on the ground, cooking his dinner over cow shit, staring at the scale model of Jerusalem that he's made with a pan and a tile. Presumably, at some point, somebody's going to ask him what the fuck he's doing while he's laying out there for a year and a month. Now, here's something else that doesn't make no damn sense to me. Why is he scale modeling the siege of Jerusalem? Because the siege of Jerusalem done already happened. That's why he's in the land of the Chaldeans, remember? So why is he going back in time with his scale model toys? His Lego bricks, as it were. Yeah, well, I mean, Julie's got a great point here. If he can't talk, who's bringing the cow shit and the meat and the water and the ingredients for the unleavened bread? Presumably, he was just supposed to take a year's supply of all this crap out with, or maybe he's supposed to be doing this whole performance art piece in his house. Maybe nobody's going to see him for a year and a half, a year and a quarter. Maybe that's why it doesn't matter. He's not allowed to, he's not going to be able to speak to people. I mean, seriously, what the fuck is going on in this book? Come on now. Is this supposed to be kid-friendly, Lisa says? Lord, I hope not. I mean, imagine if this is the kid-friendly version, imagine what must have been left out. Sweet suffering Moses. All right. And then there's going to be a famine in Jerusalem, which we care about despite being in exile in the land of the Chaldeans, apparently. All right, chapter 5. Well, Lisa, you were wondering how he was going to top the four-faced monsters. Shit cake. And bed sores. And thou, son of man. Now what? Just thinking Ezekiel, you got to imagine. And thou, son of man, take thee a sharp knife. Take thee a barber's razor, and cause it to pass upon thine head, and upon thy beard. Then take thee balances to weigh, and divide the hair. Thou shalt burn with fire a third part in the midst of the city when the days of the siege are fulfilled, and thou shalt take a third part and smite it, and smite about it with a knife. And a third part thou shalt scatter in the wind, and I will draw out a sword after them. Thou shalt also take thereof a few in number, and bind them in thy skirts. Then take of them again, and cast them into the midst of the fire, and burn them in the fire, for thereof shall a fire come forth into all the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord God, this is Jerusalem, I have set it in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her. And she hath changed my judgments into wickedness more than the nations, and my statutes more than the countries that are round about her. For they have refused my judgments and my statutes. They have not walked in them. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, because ye multiplied more than the nations that are round about you, and have not walked in my statutes, neither have you kept my judgments, neither have done according to the judgments of the nations that are round about you, therefore thus saith the Lord God, behold, I, even I, am against thee, and will execute judgments in the midst of thee in the sight of the nations. And I will do in thee that which I have not done, and whereunto I will not do any more the like, because of all thine abominations. Therefore the fathers shall eat the sons in the midst of thee, and the sons shall eat their fathers. And I will execute judgments in thee, and the whole remnant of thee will I scatter into all the winds. Wherefore, as I live, saith the Lord God, surely, because thou hast defiled my sanctuary with all thy detestable things, and with all thine abominations, therefore will I also diminish thee. Neither shall mine eye spare, neither will I have any pity. A third part of thee shall die with the pestilence, and with famine shall they be consumed in the midst of thee. And a third part shall fall by the sword round about thee. And I will scatter a third part into all the winds, and I will draw out a sword after them. And thus shall mine anger be accomplished, and I will cause my fury to rest upon them, and I will be comforted. And they shall know that I, the Lord, have spoken it in my zeal, when I have accomplished my fury in them. Moreover, I will make thee waste, and a reproach among the nations that are round about thee, in the sight of all that pass by. So it shall be a reproach and a taunt, an instruction and an astonishment unto the nations that are round about thee, when I shall execute judgments in thee in anger, and in fury, and in furious rebukes. I, the Lord, have spoken it. When I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and which I will send to destroy you, and I will increase the famine upon you, and will break your staff of bread. So will I send upon you famine and evil beasts, and they shall bereave thee, and pestilence and blood shall pass through thee, and I will bring the sword upon thee. I, the Lord, have spoken it. There we've got chapter 5. More performance art. Prophecy. More weird shit prophets do. Okay, so having been instructed to make his own bedsore factory, the timeline begins to get a little wonky. I think we're supposed to interpret that this hair chopping off ritual is supposed to happen after the 390 days and 40 days that he's going to spend sitting there, lying there, staring at his little scale model of the siege of Jerusalem. Does that make sense? I mean, is that what y'all got? That's what I got. The word of the Lord. All right. Not the author of confusion. No, pig's eye. All right. So, Ezekiel's next rather showy demonstration of prophecy is that he's supposed to shave himself bald and divide the hair into 3 different, I don't know, bundles, and just take out a few of them and wrap them up in his skirts. And a third of the hair he's supposed to burn in the middle of Jerusalem no indication whatsoever if it's talking about real Jerusalem from which they've been exiled or model Jerusalem next to which he's been eating the shit cake for a year and a half. Could be either. So in the middle of Jerusalem, he's supposed to burn a third of the hair. And a third of the hair he's supposed to smite about with a knife. And a third of it he's just supposed to toss into the wind. Okay, to symbolize that, you know, a third of the people are going to die by pestilence, and a third are going to be killed, and a third are going to be scattered into the Gentile areas around. Well, fine, well and good. Except then God changes his mind and says, I want one more performative act from you. I want you to go chasing after all that hair that you done gathered, that you done scattered into the wind. Gather it all back up. Take it with the ones you done smoked with the knife and burn it all in the fire. And that will symbolize what? The greatness of my wrath. What is it with God and these weird performative errands? That's, man, I don't know, y'all. Maybe I'm just too skeptical for the good of my own soul. If I start hearing weird voices telling me to chop off all my hair and set it on fire as a symbolic demonstration of how the people around me are going to get punished for having fucked up, for doing idolatry, probably not going to do it. Probably not. Sounds like pagan rituals to me, says Purple, and Purple is not wrong. God don't change his mind. God changes his mind more often than a 2-year-old. I don't understand this book. This Ezekiel business. I don't understand this book, but in particular and especial, I do not understand Ezekiel. This is some bonkers stuff. All right, chapter 6. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face towards the mountains of Israel, and prophesy against them. And say, Ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord God. Thus saith the Lord God to the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys, Behold, I, even I, will bring a sword upon you, and I will destroy your high places. And your altars shall be desolate, and your images shall be broken. And I will cast down your slain men before your idols, and I will lay the dead carcasses of the children of Israel before their idols, and I will scatter your bones round about your altars. In all your dwelling places the cities shall be laid waste, and the high places shall be desolate, that your altars may be laid waste and made desolate, and your idols may be broken and cease, and your images may be cut down, and your works may be abolished, and the slain shall fall in the midst of you, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. Yet will I leave a remnant, that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when ye shall be scattered through the countries. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations, whither they shall be carried captives, because I am broken with their whorish heart, which hath departed from me, and with their eyes, which go a-whoring after their idols, and they shall loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed in all their abominations. And they shall know that I am the Lord, and that I have not said in vain that I would do this evil unto them. Thus saith the Lord God. Smite with thine hand, and stamp with thy foot, and say, Alas for all the evil abominations of the house of Israel, for they shall fall by the sword, by famine, and by the pestilence. He that is far off shall die of the pestilence, and he that is near shall fall by the sword, and he that remaineth and is besieged shall die by the famine. Thus will I accomplish my fury upon them. Then shall ye know that I am the Lord, when their slain men shall be among their idols round about their altars, upon every high hill, in all the tops of the mountains, and under every green tree, and under every thick oak, the place where they did offer sweet savor to all their idols. So will I stretch out my hand upon them, and make the land desolate, yea, more desolate than the wilderness toward Diblath, in all their habitations, and they shall know that I am the Lord. Papa Cross, Papa Spank. Okay, so he's just continuing the prophecy of the smite. For about the 800 squillionth time, he announces that he's going to, that he's had it with this people being idolatrous, and he's going to smite them because of it, and throw down their high places, and chop down their holy groves, and blah, 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 blah. And he's going to have them all killed, some by pestilence, some by the sword, and some by starvation, except for this little remnant that are going to be carried off into captivity in alien lands. It's like some kind of fucking word problem in a high school math text. If I have a nation that falls into idolatrous depravity, and I slay a third of them by famine, and a third of them by the sword, and a third of them by pestilence, except for a remainder that I deport into Babylon in the land of the Chaldeans. And if they continue to do abominable things and go a-whoring after other gods, and I kill a third of them by the sword, and a third of them by famine, and a third of them by pestilence, except for the remainder that I deport into faraway lands, gee, I wonder what they're going to do. Because this seems like a people that learns their lesson real fucking well, don't it? I don't know, y'all. And why is he you notice? All right, here's the weird. You notice he doesn't tell this prophecy to the people. He tells it to mountains. This has got to be the most ineffective fucking prophet I've ever heard of. He tells, he's got all these prophecies he's got to tell, but he's not allowed to tell them to the people who need to hear them. He just does this weird performance art piece with a scale model of Jerusalem made out of cookware and a little dung fire and some cake. And then, a year and a third later, he gets up and he wanders off, presumably more than a little stiff and sore about the hips. And he starts talking to the hills about the people he's not allowed to prophesy to. Maybe he's just doing it real fucking loud, hoping they'll overhear him? Is that the idea? Is this supposed to be a go tell it on the mountain situation? No, this is go tell it to the mountain situation. Weird fucking book. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. Moreover, the word of the Lord came to me, saying, Also, thou son of man, thus saith the Lord God unto the land of Israel, an end. The end is come upon the four corners of the land. Now is the end come upon thee, and I will send mine anger upon thee, and will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense upon thee all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare thee, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense thy ways upon thee, and thine abominations shall be in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord. And thus saith the Lord God, an evil, and only evil, behold, is come. An end is come. The end is come. It watcheth for thee. Behold, it is come. The morning is come unto thee, O thou that dwellest in the land. The time is come. The day of trouble is near, and not the sounding again of the mountains. Now will I shortly pour out my fury upon thee, and accomplish mine anger upon thee, and I will judge thee according to thy ways, and will recompense thee for all thine abominations. And mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. I will recompense thee according to thy ways and thine abominations that are in the midst of thee, and ye shall know that I am the Lord that smiteth. Behold the day, behold, it is come. The morning is gone forth, the rod hath blossomed, pride hath budded. Violence is risen up into a rod of wickedness. None of them shall remain, nor of their multitude, nor of any of theirs. Neither shall there be wailing for them. The time is come, the day draweth near. Let not the buyer rejoice, nor the seller mourn, for wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. For the seller shall not return to that which is sold, although they were yet alive. For the vision is touching the whole multitude thereof, which shall not return, neither shall any strengthen himself in the iniquity of his life. They have blown the trumpet, even to make all ready, but none goeth to the battle. For my wrath is upon all the multitude thereof. The sword is without, and the pestilence and the famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. But they that escape of them shall escape, and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning, every one for his iniquity. All hands shall be feeble, and all knees shall be weak as water. They shall also gird themselves with sackcloth, and horror shall cover them, and shame shall be upon all faces, and baldness upon all their heads. They shall cast their silver in the streets, and their gold shall be removed. Their silver and their gold shall not be able to deliver them in the day of the wrath of the Lord. They shall not satisfy their souls, neither fill their bowels, because it is the stumbling block of their iniquity. As for the beauty of his ornament, he set it in majesty, but they made the images of their abominations, and of their detestable things therein. Therefore have I set it far from them. And I will give it into the hands of the strangers for a prey, and to the wicked of the earth for a spoil, and they shall pollute it. My face will I turn also from them, and they shall pollute my secret place, for the robbers shall enter into it and defile it. Make a chain, for the land is full of bloody crimes, and the city is full of violence. Wherefore I will bring the worst of the heathen, and they shall possess their houses. I will also make the pomp of the strong to cease, and their holy places shall be defiled. Destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. Then shall they seek a vision of the prophet, but the law shall perish from the priest, and counsel from the ancients. The king shall mourn, and the prince shall be clothed with desolation, and the hands of the people of the land shall be troubled. I will do unto them after their way, and according to their deserts will I judge them, and they shall know that I am the Lord. God done got his cranky on. And a little bit of his repetition too. Because that gets some that's very much like what we read in the last chapter. Very, very much. They're going to know that he is the Lord, the ones that are left. Who shall survive, and what will be left of them? See, Old Junk Shop can make a call back to anything. Anything. All right. One more? Let's do one more. Let's end on an even number. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord God fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of an hand, and took me by a lock of mine head. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me in the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoketh to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, look, lift up thine eyes now the way toward the north. So I lifted up mine eyes the way toward the north, and behold, northward, at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, seest thou what they do? Even the great abominations that the house of Israel committeth here, that I should go far off from my sanctuary, but turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court, and when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do there. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping things, and abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel, portrayed upon the wall round about. And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel, and in the midst of them stood Jaazaniah, the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark, every man in the chambers of his imagery? For they say, The Lord seeth us not, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Lord's house, which was toward the north. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations than these. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east, and they worshipped the sun toward the east. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence, and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose. Therefore will I also deal in fury. Mine eye shall not spare, neither will I have pity. And though they cry in mine ears with a loud voice, yet will I not hear them. There we have chapter 8. Turn, 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 huh? Come on, somebody had to say. And nope. Ox, those are the real actual names. I may be a bit of a lightweight, but I'm not half a beer's worth of lightweight. Okay, so while he's sitting there communing with the elders of Israel in the exile in the land of the Chaldeans, God shows up, grabs him by the hair, lifts him up and carries him off to Jerusalem and sets him down so that he can see what mischief is being done in Jerusalem in the absence of the people of Israel. And there's just general idolatry and foolishness. Just more idolatry. Worship of creeping things, worship of the sun, worship of the cult of Tammuz. It just more of the same complaint of the Lord. He ain't getting enough attention. That is his constant bellyache. He ain't getting enough attention. He wants all the attention, and he wants it now. Goddamn Veruca Salt motherfucker. And God says, see, look, there's idolatry here too. Yet another opportunity for me to dust off my smiting hand. None of that to this book. Really? It's just idolatry's bad and God is crazy. And so are his prophets. Or perhaps there's some crazy people and they speak in the name of God. I don't know. Well, y'all, we're coming up on the top of the hour. Well, technically the bottom of the hour. But I think that's going to do it for us for now. That was a nice little chunk that we got through. So we'll the next time we convene, which should be Wednesday night if my new schedule comes to pass, we'll pick up with chapter 9. In the event that that falls through, we'll see y'all again at some point later this week, even if it's not all the way through until Book of Mormon on Saturday. Anybody who's able, Paul, if you don't mind, go ahead and drop that link again for us. Anybody who's able and available, Paul's throwing a little shindig tomorrow, and as many of us as can make it. I myself won't be able to make it over there, but some of y'all probably would be able to. And beyond that, y'all just stay safe out there. Boil your water. If you're under one of their one of those such advisements. And as we always say before we roll out of here, everybody take care. Be safe. And stand against hate. And we'll see y'all again soon.